Hello again and welcome back. Thanks for tuning in this week. I have some exciting stuff to go over, some actual bank sales from the last 30 days, and a CMHC poll I did on my X to find some feedback on them. But first, a public service announcement from my fellow realtor, Gary Sodi.
You Indians that are pooping on the beaches, I know it's happening. Otherwise, so many people across all the beaches won't be complaining. I also know that you are a very small minority, probably less than 5% of us. But you 5% have become very problematic for all of us. Because the fact is that 95% of us Indians are very thankful to be in this country, are very respectful of Canadian culture and values. We've worked very hard to put together a decent life, and we want to contribute something positive back to this society. But you 5% keep embarrassing us in public. Every time you do something stupid and a person from a different community looks at you, he thinks it's probably part of their culture. Your stupidity overshadows all the good we do. You are not an accurate representation of our community. Look guys, you got to have some civic sense. The core values of this country are of acceptance and tolerance, but it can only be to a certain extent. It's time you get better, only then you can expect better.
Wow. Well said, Gary, and some nice stats in that presentation also. Now let's look at some actual MLS bank sales from Ontario in the last 30 days. And as most of you know, I do track the bank sales on our system, and they have been increasing consistently over the last year or so. Here's a quick chart you've seen in the last week or two, but here are some individual sales and kind of the numbers or the actual numbers here. Now, I can't show you the addresses. I'm not allowed to. I can't show you any details that would give up any information about who owns them and anything else like that. But I can show you the city and kind of if it was a private lender or whatnot and the sale price and the original sale price from when they purchased. So here's the first one here, Kingston. It was a private lender. It just sold for $1,005,000. And they bought this way after the peak in October 2022 for 1.42 million. So over $400,000 less this was sold for through a private lender that took it via power of sale. And the next one is in Brantford, Ontario. It was a Big Six bank. This one originally purchased for $895 in 2022, June 2022, and just sold on July 16th this year for $690,000, 25% or so. Another one out of Kingston, private lender, originally purchased in January, just right before the peak. The peak was February 2022, so they bought it right at the end of January. That was actually the closing date. Sorry, the pending date was late 2021, October, and it just sold now for $590. So from $750 to $590, that's a $160,000 loss there in Kingston. The next one out of Hamilton, also a private lender. This was originally purchased in November 2023, closed early this year, and already back up for sale. $5,000 loss on paper, but of course, it's a lot more when you consider fees and all the rest of that stuff, legal fees, especially closing costs. So, again, quick though. They didn't even have it for 6 months they had this thing for, not even by the time the bank took it or the lender took it. But yeah, instant loss. Of course, the purchaser would have lost their down payment and whatever else at that point and all the legal fees. They probably actually owe the lender money at this point. One out of Port Elgin, and this was from one of the major mortgage insurers in Canada, originally purchased in 2021, mid 2021 for 400,000 and just sold now for 430,000. So 30,000 more, but of course you have your down payments, closing costs, all the rest of that, legal fees now. They would obviously be losing money, and I'm sure the insurer is happy that they actually recovered most of it in this case. Now one from Pickering, a Big Six bank. It was sold for 1.325 million in, again, January this year. This is a very recent sale. And then back up, power of sale in June, and it just sold in July 19th for 1.34 million. So again, wouldn't even recover the legal expenses on this and the down payments and whatever is lost. But again, just like these people are just buying these properties and going power of sale right away. I just don't understand this. Out of my hometown, Niagara Falls, we got the low prices here. 2021, they paid $370,000. And this was at the end of 2021. And now it's through a private lender. Now it just sold for $199,000. That's almost half price of what they purchased it for, or $170,000 loss. But again, it's like what? 45% loss or something like that. Pretty intense there. And again, look at this price point. It's one of the lower price points. And yeah, look, 199,000 you get a house now in Niagara Falls for. Now on to Brampton. This one sold end of 2021, again near the peak, 1.51 or 1.52 million, and just sold for 1.22 million just in June this year. So a $300,000 loss or so. That's a pretty significant loss. Next, we move on to Barrie. Barrie, 840,000. This property sold for right at the peak in 2022 and just sold now again in July this year for $649,000. So pretty much $200,000 loss. And that was through a mortgage investment corp. And you've heard me talk about the mortgage investment corporations. This is a private lending channel. And yeah, they seem to make some risky investments, some of these companies. So you got to be careful with those. Now, these aren't all the power of sales on the system in the last 30 days. These are just the ones that conveniently had the purchase price and then the sale price now. So the previous purchase price, what the people bought it for, they lose it to the bank, and now the most recent sale price. So again, not all of them are included here, but the last one here is from Quinte West. It is also a Big Six bank. Sold for 555,000 in mid 2023, just over a year later, July 2024, 510,000. So $45,000 loss in less than a year. A lot of those have some pretty big losses or some pretty quick losses in certain cases. Anyway, if you see any power of sales, let me know in the comments or post it on X. People send them to me sometimes because it's interesting to track these things. I don't watch them every day, but I do try to keep up on them. Next, I want to move on to the CMHC, and there's a lot of info that has come out about the CMHC lately, and some people claiming some backroom messaging that they're saying one thing publicly, but then behind the scenes they're saying another. I'm not going to get into that, but I did want to do some research on the CMHC and just refresh my memory on what their goals are. And here are their goals. The CMHC goal, their main goal, ensuring more Canadians have access to a home they can afford. Very simple. Seems like a good goal. I don't think they're doing a very good job, but I put this out to the X world to see what they had to say. So I put this on a post. How much confidence do you have in our National Housing Agency ensuring you have an affordable place to live? And of course, a copy of that screenshot from their home screen on their website. Now, this was less than 24 hours ago. A lot of people have an opinion on this, and not one good comment. I couldn't believe. Usually there's a mixed reaction, or maybe there's 80% negative comments. Everybody had a negative comment on the CMHC and their views of them, and don't believe that they're doing a good job or a job at all. So let's read through these comments. It's pretty depressing reading them, knowing that these guys are supposed to be our go-to place for creating housing and supporting housing for Canadians. But here's what people have to say. First one, Justin Cole, 0 basis points, obviously being ironic there with the interest rates and whatnot. More than CREA enforcing their own rules. I don't know. Maybe that is a positive comment. Big fat supersized 0 from Christine. From Metro Vancouver Housing, 0, and they don't really care. If they did, we wouldn't have seen this fiasco in the first place. Next person, nil. Vishal says CMHC's main goal is to protect mortgage lenders, banks' interests, isn't it? It is. We're paying the insurance so that if you default, the banks don't have to suffer the losses. CMHC will eat it, and we're all paying for that. From Ken, with the critical theory update to the logo, 0. I have no faith in our government. Jeffrey, none, but I'm very confident 10 years from now, I'll be able to trade some Bitcoin for a house and be mortgage free. French onion soup, 0. Trillion, all I know is that they are getting paid nicely to publish fancy papers. Good point. Franco, the only program they had that was actually working to create affordable rentals, MLI Select for new builds, they cratered. Changed the point system so that environmental had less weighting, and you need too much of it to be below market rents to qualify. Nothing pencils now. Yeah, nothing pencils for a lot of people. Building, renting, it just doesn't pencil. You're right. Closed Borders said, I made $92,000 last year in Windsor, Ontario, and can't qualify for some of the cheapest houses in Windsor are 300K plus. The entire country is so overpriced. I'd rather go live in Thailand and work remotely. Apex Warrior, in the negatives. Jimmy, zero. Benjamin, none, zero. What do they even do again? Juan, LOL, rainbow logo and DEI photo op. Amazing. Ryan, zero. Japistani, the answer is zero. Royale, the CMHC is effectively obsolete in its original mandate or as a default insurer, like the CBC, should be abolished. L2, nada, enchilada. Liam Mack, CMHC insuring lenders takes risk off these lenders, making lenders more comfortable with lending at better rates to borrowers taking insurance, possibly allowing these borrowers to overbid more easily, as an overbid loan will more likely be approved with insurance than without. A little confusing, but I get your point. Jason, I'm old enough to remember when the government wanted to share a mortgage with you to help buyers out. Next person, zero. Eric, what's less than zero called? Deb, zero. Ouch, Canada. Wow, what a great representative photo of a Canadian. Happy, healthy, full of hope in their eyes. Yeah, sure. Canadawi, liars. Global statistics, 0%. Ukraine needs more ammo. Unless the liberals slash immigration, none. Dave Kim, considering the situation we are currently in, not much. Hank, zero. Adrian, zero confidence. Sergio, zero. Nerb, zero. Not a lot of confidence here in the CMHC. This is pretty depressing. Kieran, zero. But at least we can take comfort knowing whichever CMHC executive commissioned the web article will be getting their big bonus this year. And it is true, they do get big bonuses at the CMHC. Someone did an access to information request last year, and pretty much the whole company and all employees, they're getting bonuses. Peter, zero confidence, and that's being generous. Future, zero. Mark, zero. Optiplex Force, zero. Baz, what is less than zero? Graylaw, not the job of the government. Max, as there should not even be a federal housing minister. Not much. Sean, zero. Prepared Canadian, CMHC is a corrupt criminal organization. Nothing, none. Dale, that ain't their mandate. I'm confused. What's not their mandate? And sure, what they wrote on their website? Okay. Can't read this person's name. Negative confidence. CMHC actively makes housing less affordable. Ending the CMHC would be excellent policy. Renee Sugar reposts a post from John Pasalis showing the difference in real home price growth as compared to incomes, comparing the US to Canada. And of course, the Canada's on the right there and yeah, very unaffordable compared to the US. And I think most people know that if you follow real estate. So that's it. Doesn't seem like there's many people out there that have confidence in the CMHC. I'd like to know what you think in the comments. Do you have confidence in the CMHC ensuring that you have an affordable place to call home? Let me know. And until next week, I'll see you then.